What would you look for in an HR tech startup if you were to invest in it?
So firstly, I think the HR Tech partnership is slightly different compared to most VCs in the market.
All right.
And so there are a few things that we would look for which would be very similar to other VCs. And there would be other things that would probably be slightly different.
All right. Let's start with the similar ones.
Yeah. So let me first explain. I think I mentioned that we are different, and we're different because all the investors have domain expertise. So they all have corporate or human capital experience. And so to that extent, I think it's a wealth of knowledge about what's actually needed, but what would work, that makes us slightly different to a VC who would probably go purely by financials and then maybe rely on a little bit from advisors here and there about an HR tech product or solution. And of course, as I said, I think the advantage we also then have for any startup is we're not just there to give the funding, but we give instant credibility, but we're also there to provide our network and any mentoring.
Yes.
And so there's a lot more that the startup gets in return. But I think to go back to your question of what would I look for in a startup, and as I said, I think clearly, apart from the traditional thing about the financial model, the business case, I think all that is a given. But there are three things I think that would look a little bit different as compared to other VCs. So the first is, I think our focus is very much on, is it solving a real pain point? So it's not about, candidate attraction is important and which is why this product, but what issue is it solving? Then is that a real issue? Is it important enough for companies to want to spend money on it? Now that's really a judgment call, and that judgment call comes from the experience of me and my investors.
Yes.
Yeah. And based on that, I think the assumption of growth then is a little more realistic rather than it kind of being probably just going by reports or industry hype then. The second thing I think is the team. Obviously, everyone says the team is important. It's important to us, but because we focus on big enterprise solutions, first and foremost, I think I would look for in the team is, do they have some experience of big enterprise? Now, it could be as an employee, it could be as a supplier, it could be as a contractor. But to be very honest, if I have a pair of young graduates coming out of university who have no idea what the corporate world is like or how it operates, I would be very, very careful about investing in that startup.
Yeah.
The second thing, and probably because I'm HR and my investors are HR, is really the dynamics between the founders of the team. I think that becomes important. Firstly, we do prefer a team with at least two co-founders, but also I think it's what's the complementary skill set they bring in, and also how well do they work together, which I think only HR people will try and look at. I don't see a VC really looking at that so carefully, but yeah. So I think the team, but also, as I said, I think so if I give an example of the current investment we are making, the two co-founders I would also look for a track record of achievement. And that achievement can be either educational or it could be extracurricular, but I strongly believe in, if you are an achiever, you will have shown enough evidence of that all along. And if I don't see that, I would question and dig deeper a little more. And so I think all that becomes far more important than just the numbers and the figures then.
Yeah.
And then the third thing I think is, from a very practical perspective, is to see whether they have had any partnerships with either technology organizations or consultancies, because the reality is, it's from a scale-up perspective, if you're a big enterprise product or solution, it's very difficult if you don't have some of these partnerships.
Yes.
And so I think those would be the three things that would become far more important for us, and I don't think other VCs probably would pay enough attention to that.